10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. Yeah, we're getting off to a bit of a late start this morning. Bit of a long weekend. Lots going on over the weekend. And we're back. Happy to be back on Monday for a bit of a shortened show, but we're going to have a show nonetheless. It's going to be great. I promise. And we're going to have some weather. We're going to have your comments. We're going to check in and say good morning, all y'all, and have a bit of a conversation, because that's what this is. This is a conversation on your station about the news, about the issues, the things that we are facing in our city, in our province, in our country, in our world. Try to make sense of things and try to make the most out of what we know and what we try to make sense of. In our very confusing world, trying to make sense of some things isn't always the easiest, but as you have a conversation, as you have multiple people kind of weighing in, it's almost like every one of us getting together at our favorite breakfast location in the morning, just having a chat and discussing the things and sharing our views on the news and our world and trying to make sense of things. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. We've been here for the last 8 years or so. Started off as Sudbury Sports Talk and now Sudbury News Talk. And grateful to CKLU for having us on all these years. We're also streaming live at cklu.ca, and we would invite you to check out the merch that we got on the website and purchase it. Helps keep the station alive. And if you've already have the merch or you don't need it and you're able to support the station, just click on the donate button. You put the U in CKLU. We are proudly supported by yourself, and we want to keep it that way. So thanks everyone for the support that you give CKLU. We've been around since 1984. Want to keep it that way. Keep us going, that is. And we're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow the channel and the page. Will be found on demand immediately following the lives, after on X, on those two platforms, along with x.com/Sudbury News and Sudbury.news, which is our local news aggregator, aggregating all the local news into one web page. So our answer to the federal government's policy to not allow news to be shared on Facebook, the world's largest social media platform. Only in Canada, ladies and gents, and that is the only country that takes place, where we're allowed to use Facebook, but you can't share news on it. Some countries, they just ban Facebook altogether. And so there you go. Is it incompetency? Is it on purpose? We're not sure, but is what it is. So we'll get some local news stories. We'll talk about that, get the weather. We'll do a little bit of a deep dive today into Canada, as we've been doing, what's been going on locally with Stop the Spray. CBC did a story on it, so it can't really be totally tin hat. CBC did a story on it, on the Indigenous protests anyways. I'm glad they protested that, because if anyone else, well, anyways, it just depends on who you are. If you protest, you'll get some news. And then we're grateful for our Indigenous friends being able to focus in on this very important issue about what they're spraying over us. Because you're breathing it in, you're eating it, if it's going on your food. What's in the spray that they're spraying? Do we really need it? Why are other countries and provinces banning the spraying of these things they're spraying? Why do we just stand for it in Ontario? Why do you have to have a tinfoil hat just to care about your health? I don't understand. Doesn't make any sense to me. But we'll be back with these things and more right after this. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. I promise you. Your money back. And Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently, it is 9 degrees. Very cool. It was cool yesterday. It was a nice change, actually. It was a welcomed change. Today, we can expect it to be sunny. High of 20. UV index 8 are very high. But 20, I can live with that all day long, any day. Sunny and 20 degrees. Give it to me all the time. That's my sweet spot, if you will. And then tomorrow, mainly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers, risk of thunderstorm in the afternoon. Wind becoming very mild, so it's a non-factor. 21 will be your high tomorrow, so very similar to today's temperatures. But then overnight tomorrow, cloudy with a 60% chance of showers. And then Wednesday, sunny with a high of 26, getting a little warmer again. Thursday, sunny, high of 27. 27 again on Friday with some clouds moving in. And then Saturday, you don't know, it might be a shower or two. 40% chance of showers on Saturday. Again, a high of 22. And then 17 degrees is your high with a 60% chance of showers on Sunday. That's your Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Back with news headlines, your comments, and more. Stick around. Okay, thanks for hanging in there, everyone. So let's see who we got here. We got your Northern Hillbilly. Good morning, people. Nana, good morning. Blessings, everybody. I hope everything worked out with your vehicle situation yesterday. We were in Timmins, and as you know, when you're traveling back and forth from Timmins, there ain't no cell reception for a good portion of that trip. Actually, you just come out of Timmins, you're going towards Chapleau there, and there's that turnoff to come down to Sudbury. Right there was no cell service. From there all the way to the watershed, I couldn't believe it. Like, that's crazy. But anyways, so I hope everything worked out yesterday. It sounds like it did. And Rogue, good morning to you. And Judy, good morning. Along with Monique, good morning, Sudbury. Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji, very needed. Much appreciated. And Monique, grand rising heart emoji. Vin, morning to you. Along with Liette from Collingwood. Hand clap emoji. And here we go. The Indigenous people are being used for the WEF agenda through land grabs. And yes, that's been huge news these days. We'll have to cover that more in terms of land being given through our court system, through lawsuits being given to Indigenous groups. One of the major ones was in Richmond in BC just recently. A lot of commercial property handed over, and that's just going to be interesting in terms of how that all plays out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. There's always a good and a not so good side to things. I always have to point that out. Hopefully I'll be able to get into more of those types of things as I'm more able to articulate it communicated in a way that I feel comfortable communicating it. What's going on with our First Nations brothers and sisters in Canada, in the U.S. There's a lot of neat things going on there, but also it could look like there's some negative things at the same time, and I appreciate that, and they could be for a good reason as well. So coming to a theater near you, hopefully soon, I'll be able to articulate what I just explained the best I could explain it at the moment. So the glyphosates they're spraying in the forest will kill us. It creates the fires and consequently evacuate and place us in their planned 15-minute cities. That's the plan. Okay, so make our wildernesses toxic and things so you can't really live in them? I'm not sure. And Rogue says the city of Sudbury is looking grim. So many hurting young men begging for money. Yes, that's been the trend, unfortunately, especially downtown. Very sad in the city of Sudbury. Nana says, our good friend Dave, yes, saved the day. That's what I heard. Yes, that's awesome. And he can do that kind of thing. And he does many times. So good morning. Okay, hand waving. I think it says pink, hand pink waving. But that's Rose. Good morning to you. And Rogue also says Sudbury has become India. Yeah, no, this is the thing, right? So you can see our standard of living is decreasing. You can see our standard of living is going down. It's been going down. I believe we've reached our peak years ago. Like a roller coaster, you go up, 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 and you reach your peak and then down. And every society has risen and fallen. We've never had a society that's just risen and stayed. And so it's a cycle and history repeats itself. It's always humans that have been involved with every society. And human beings can't stop being human beings. And so we're made of the same stuff. Similar to ants. When you try and take away an anthill, what happens? If you don't know, just go out and find an anthill and wipe it away. And then come back a couple days later. What do you find? The anthill's back again. Then wipe it out again, and what happens? The anthill's back. So it's in their DNA to just continue to do what they do. And same with humans. Humans will just continually, build societies up when there's nothing there and there's chaos. They'll build a society up and it will be functioning for a good chunk of time. And then human beings tend to implode. After the society gets big enough, you begin to have the people at the top, the elite few, who take over things, who are like a cancer. They suck the energy out of that society, and eventually the society falls. That's a very oversimplified way of explaining it, but believe you me, every society rises and falls for much the same reasons. For much the same reasons. The UN recognized Indigenous as legal owners through the UN DRIP contracts. Is that what I'm reading, correct? And I was not aware of that. Okay, so they're UN recognized, and that's probably what's going on. As we turn into more of a global society, and borders are erased, you'll see the UN making more authoritative decisions, and then you'll find a leader of the UN, basically a leader of the world will emerge very shortly, and you'll have a world leader. Yay! Apparently he's not going to be such a nice guy. So Vin brings you back to why the super stack was built. The soil was being contaminated. Now it doesn't matter? Question mark. Only change those whom benefit or profit from it. 15-minute cities. Yes, 100% in Sudbury. Steffi, I saw you do a live the other day, and that's awesome. So I hope you continue to do your lives. Thought it was very good. And apparently you did them before. It's the first time I saw you on a live. And so, again, just continue to do that. That's we need more and more people like yourself. Give them food and water and clothing. No money. That's the people on our streets, I would think you're talking about. The ones that are struggling, asking for money downtown and other places in the city. Belinda, good morning. Better late than never. The system was built to use you, not serve you. Keep spreading the truth. Double heart emoji, much appreciated. Okay. Yeah, now the First Nations have been around, a long time, right? So this is Northern Hillbilly saying First Nation in a word, WEF, invented for division. Yeah, it's a complicated situation for sure. And I happen to have studied a lot of Indigenous history here in North America. Again, I'm not the foremost person you turn to about knowledge about it. But anyways, I've spent a lot of time looking into it, and it's very complex, very complicated. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're unaware of in terms of our Indigenous brothers and sisters. They were here before the settlers came, right? So they're already here. We came. We partnered. We brought some diseases with us too, whether it was on purpose or not. Didn't fare well for them. Many of them lost their lives. And anyways, we partnered with them because we needed it, because a few different countries came here, right? You had Spain, you had France, you had England. Were there any more? There could have been Portugal, possibly. I think there were other nations here as well. But anyways, they were vying for control of this new world they found. It was already found before, but anyways, these new countries found them again and wanted them for the money that they could make off it and the control of the land. So anyways, they partnered with a lot of the Indigenous that were here. The Indigenous fought alongside different companies at different times for different reasons. And yeah, and then in the end, after a lot of the battles were won or lost, they ended up with the short end of the stick at the end of the day in that part of history. And eventually were just given different chunks of land to live on instead of being full partners with the victors that they help be victorious. And the treaties that were signed with them, most of them were not honored at the time. Now, I can't go back in time and redo any of those things, and things have changed since then. So how we rectify or how we handle those situations today is very complicated. I have many of my own views on it, but it's good to understand the whole aspect of any situation, especially that. It's very complicated. And yeah, and we're going to have more on that. I think I'm going to dedicate more time to talking about our Indigenous brothers and sisters and how complex of a thing it is, and especially the way the world is going to be rolling out, because I really don't like division for any reason, right? And if they're using it to divide us, let's just use some psychological martial arts and just reverse it on them and help us to join together more rather than be divided. And we have more in common than we do than we have that's not in common as people anywhere in the world. And I think we need to unite in a positive way because of what's coming, rather than be divided as a people, because they want us to be united in a certain way, united in just listening to everything the government says all the time and being divided so we don't kind of unite as one and realize what's happening from the top down. So I'm always working to not be divided, and it's always good to be more united as a people. Are we not allowed in the forests anymore? No, apparently we are not. And that's and that was Rose. And Belinda says this is one that sticks. It is our time. We are going to, this is Vin, UNDRIP. I hope I'm reading that right. IMF and all other global alphabet soup organizations are acknowledgement of the New World Order, NWO, and dismantling of sovereignty. For sure. Getting rid of the borders, it's what it's all about. One world government, one world currency, one world religion, one world everything, legal system, health system, you name it, top down. Trevor, thanks for being on with your sword, shield, Canada, and another emoji that I can't quite decipher at the moment. My eyes are bad this morning. They're usually bad every day. Leonard, good morning to you. Good morning, Sudbury. And yes, I do need to check out the UNDRIP. I will do that today. Rose did also hear no camera? I'm not sure. Okay, so Sudbury Steffi's saying, see you all in front of Costco. Let's go Sudbury. Cool. So I guess we're getting together in front of Costco. Yes, I will look that up. They blur the definition of indigenous as a tool to conquer. Again, complicated, right? So it was complicated when we first got together back in the day here on Turtle Island, if you will, using their verbiage of where we're living. And it's now being used again. And this is what I would hope for our indigenous brothers and sisters, is that we realize what's going on and who the real ones are that are manipulating us, kind of like what they're doing with Stop the Spray. And we just start working together on things that we unitedly need to work together on. Instead of dividing us and then conquering us, why don't we unite together, right? On the things we agree with, and stop talking about the things that we don't agree on. Yeah, no problem, Steffi. I appreciate that for sure. And continue doing what you're doing. I think you're just, grassroots is the way to go. So we did not do this harm to our ancestors. Our ancestors did. Yeah, exactly. We didn't do it. And they were probably prompted to do it by the governments. For sure. It was the few doing it to the many, as we are today. It's the same, idea of these few people in charge of the many doing these atrocities, doing unthinkable things to the masses for whatever reasons. Is it for control? Is it for power? Is it for whatever? It's just been throughout history, and it continues today. So it's complex. So let's just grab a couple headlines here. And I'm sorry I'm not able to continue with the conversation, and time is of the essence. Look, we're almost out of time, but it is a great conversation for sure. We should just have a conversation show at some point, like maybe in an evening or something, just chat the whole time. So coming from our news aggregator this morning, I thought I had it all queued up. But yeah, head on over to Sudbury.news at some point if you want to see all the local news in one location. No Frills store. There's one coming next to Costco. Speaking of Costco, there's going to be a No Frills store put in right beside it. And another one in the Southridge Mall. They're going to be putting a No Frills. So that's good to know. Air Canada cancels plans to resume operations as flight attendants defy back to work order. That was the CBC at 9:26 a.m. yesterday. And then at 9:59 a.m., that was CBC, and then Sudbury.com came out less than an hour later, and the headline is Air Canada to restart flights Sunday after Ottawa intervenes in strike. So what is it? Did they defy the government, or are they going back to work? Maybe we'll never know. But what a terrible thing for people that were, heading out on their vacations, and all of a sudden, sorry, your flight is canceled. There's a strike. It's just weird. It's like, how do things like that happen and happen more and more in Canada? And why is Air Canada government owned anyways? Like, what's going on with that? It's just so many questions, so little time. And speaking of striking, OPSU says support staff for Ontario colleges vote to authorize a strike if necessary. The union that represents thousands of support staff at Ontario's colleges says the workers have voted to authorize a strike. Can you imagine that? Let's hope not, because I don't know. I think things are going more well in that area than not, but we'll have to see. Unions are good, and unions aren't so good sometimes. It depends. If we didn't have unions, what would happen? But then you have unions, and it's not always fun and games with that either. There was a fire on Lloyd Street that killed 4 cats. The 3 occupants of the 3 apartments of the building were able to get out and have survived. So that just happened yesterday, I believe. Or the day before. Yeah. Greater Sudbury firefighters responded to a report of a fire around 10:40 p.m. Thursday night. So a few nights ago, Lloyd Street. I guess that's old news by now. And then Greater Sudbury orders 12 Elgin Street to deal with the bed bug problem. Apparently bed bugs have been going on for quite some time at that building. So this is now coming from Sudbury Star's newsletter that you can get in your inbox every morning at 7 a.m. So there you go. Oh yeah, I knew what story I wanted to find here. I knew it. And I thought it was right there. So calls for provincial ban on herbicides in forests are growing in northeastern Ontario. First Nation and municipalities in northern Ontario are calling for the province to ban the forestry industry's use of herbicides containing glyphosate. That's the word we've been talking about on the show for the last couple of days. One Serpent River First Nation member says she's mindful of where she gathers berries and traditional medicines due to the use of the chemical. And again, this is where I applaud our Indigenous friends for shedding light on this and standing up for it, because our news media has to kind of bow down to, the identity politics in things and stuff. And if the indigenous peoples stand up for things that are right, hey, it can really do a lot of good here. And this, you see an example of that. Sometimes you just got to go with whatever you can in terms of who's got, the media's ear at the time. And if you're able to then have, stand up and have the people that have the media's ear stand up, there you go. So I know I have some video from that as well. Let's see if we got it here. Yeah, Serpent River Stop the Spray. This comes from Linda Lautenschlager. Shout out for her. Came from her Facebook page. I believe she was there, or she was sharing a lot of what was going on there. This is the protest they had the other day.
I'm here in Serpent River First Nation, Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, along with Anishinaabeg elders, community members, and supporters to say loud and clear that the Ontario government needs to ban the aerial spraying of glyphosate on our public forests for logging. Stop spraying!
All right, so a lot of supporters going by, showing their support by honking their horns, and rightfully so. It's their health that's they're supporting by not spraying harmful chemicals all over everyone, and a lot of them known to cause cancers and other things. So it's not something you want to be breathing in. It's not something that you want to be sprayed on your food, sprayed on animals in the forests. They didn't ask for that. I think they just want things to be natural. And I think things are made to be resilient. Natural is always the best anyways, regardless of anything. And the more humans get involved with stuff, the worse things become. And so just don't spray the forest, please. You want to go on and spray, farmers' fields and stuff, and we're eating it. At least it's just, and that's bad enough, And a lot of the stuff that is being sprayed is found in some of those agents that they spray on our food, on farmers' fields, and things like that. So now switching gears a little bit, because I have a bit of an ear thing going on. This is something I've talked about at length in terms of our medical system. And I've complained about it a lot. I lived in the States for a while. I gave blood at some point, and I got like $100 for giving blood, and $100 American. And this was in 97 or 98, 1997, 1998. And I thought, wow, why do they pay me $100 when I give blood in the United States? And in Canada, they give me a cookie and juice. So what's going on here? So I realized that blood is a commodity. It's like oil. Oil has a price. It's sold on markets. It's needed in the medical community, like when it's bought and sold. So in Canada, they fooled us enough to believe that we're just donating it, but it actually has a price. And I knew this for years, just because of that, just because of going down there and seeing that that's, experiencing it and questioning why it's done that way in the States, and then realizing we're a socialist country. They're more capitalist. Things are more, it's not perfect down there. There's a lot of things that aren't right, but at the same time, it's more transparent because it's more capitalistic. You see how much things cost, a lot more than in Canada. Everything's kind of hidden under the rug. And you get a cookie and some juice to donate your blood here. But this is the long short of it. Watch this.
Give me 30 seconds. I'm going to blow your mind. Have you guys ever donated blood to the Canadian Blood Services? Well, I was today years old when I found out that the Canadian Blood Services here is using your Canadian donated blood to be utilized by this company that then resells it for a profit. This might honestly be one of the biggest scandals of the year. Free and donated Canadian blood, scratch that, it's plasma, is being resold for a profit. You get nothing. In fact, members of Parliament of the Conservative Party just wrote a scathing letter. And it gets better. It says that the Globe and Mail reported exactly what I just showed you, and despite a 2022 pledge from the Canadian Blood Services that plasma collected from Canadians would be sold offshore. That pledge was made by the CEO back in 2022. And this is where it gets interesting. Equally as troubling is the fact that Brookfield Asset Management has been working to acquire that company, Grifols, for over the past year. Brookfield made a multi-billion-dollar takeover bid for the company in late 2024 and was again to be reported in contact with shareholders regarding an acquisition in April 2025. Even if no acquisition has been made to date, this pattern signals Brookfield's ongoing desire to take control of a firm profiting from Canadian blood donations. Given Mark Carney's significant personal investments in Brookfield, we are further concerned about the Prime Minister's potential conflict of interest in this matter. And for those who don't know, Mark Carney has over $6.8 million in options in Brookfield alone. We don't even know how many shares he had before that or what other compensations he's had before those options. If I could estimate, it's easily in the 8 figures. And rightfully so, they said this raises 2 important questions. Why are foreign corporations such as Grifols profiting off of blood plasma donated by Canadians without their knowledge? And what would Mark Carney's financial gain be if Brookfield acquired Grifols, given the company has worked to take control of a firm that profits from Canadian plasma? And they urged to recall the Standing Committee of Health to investigate this, and Canadians expect their donated plasma to save lives in Canada and not be turned into profits for foreign companies or for the Prime Minister. And these are all the members of Parliament that signed this letter. If you are equally as disturbed and troubled by this, please email your Liberal Member of Parliament. All you have to do is Google their name and send them an email, say you're a constituent within their riding, and if the Liberals support this, you will no longer support them going forward. They need to know that Canadians will not stand for this, and we need the Liberal Party to take immediate action. Everyone, please do this. This is not right, and it's not okay.
So, something I've already known for years, but now, specifically, Mark Carney will benefit financially from the sale of your plasma that you donate for free and get, well, you get a juice and a cookie. That's not really for free. Come on. You could have bought that for a good, $3.50, $5, something like that. They're going to sell it for $100. So it's a pretty good profit, right? So anyways, you can look into that on your own, something I've already known. That's the whole problem with socialized anything, is that you end up with stuff like this when a small elite group of people who are, meshed with government end up making the money. And it's, it's the opposite of, corporate greed, if you will. It's government greed. It's crony greed. It's corporations working with governments to have a few people make a lot of money off things, and without your knowledge of it. At least corporate greed is all out in the open, right? You see their profits, you see it's a company that wants to make money, give you a service or a product that you want, and they make money off of it. Okay, at least it's all out in the open. This stuff is done all behind the scenes and without your knowledge. So that's all the time we got on this edition of Sudbury News Talk. We'll be back same time, same place, on the same platforms, God willing, tomorrow. Remember to stay aware, like, share. Take care. We'll be back again tomorrow. So have a wonderful beginning to your work week, Monday. And stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao for now, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.